Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Wealth Conversation podcast with me, Tsitsi Mutiti. I guide high-achieving women on their journey to build lasting wealth so they can prepare for an abundant future in every area of their life. I hope that today's episode will help you to transform your relationship with money so you can make the choices that will enable you to create the opportunities and lasting wealth that you desire. Let's get straight into this week's episode. This episode is dedicated to Black History Month, which is celebrated in October here in the UK. As my contribution to this very special period in the UK calendar, I wanted to celebrate the people who I believe are making history right now in the Black community. So I'll be talking to one of my favorite couples whose mission is to empower people to succeed regardless of their ethnic background through delivering educational life skills programs, improving learning environments, and addressing racial inequality. And they do this through their charity, Open Palm. Now, before you meet them, I'll just read through their official bios. Ralph McBaiden is a chartered accountant who is passionate about giving back. For years, Ralph has contributed to his community, whether by mentoring, providing CV support, or most recently co-founding the Open Palm charity. In addition to practicing as an accountant full-time, Ralph spends as much of his free time as possible helping young people to become wiser with money. Outside of the world of finance, Ralph is a keen footballer and drone enthusiast. Sophie McBaiden is a qualified solicitor and works for a large financial institution. Sophie is passionate about increasing diversity and inclusion in the workplace and has participated in a range of initiatives to help the next generation, from developing work experience programs and mentoring. Outside of the office, Sophie co-founded a charity, Open Palm, that delivers free life skills courses to ethnic minority youths, supports underfunded schools, and promotes racial equality. In her spare time, Sophie enjoys fitness, cooking, and spending quality time with her husband and family. Hey, Sophie and Ralph, welcome to the Wealth Conversation podcast.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah,
Hello.
Good to be here.
Great. I'm so excited to have you guys here. I cannot tell you how excited I am. So I'd love for you to just share with listeners a little bit more about yourselves as individuals and as a couple.
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. So my name is Ralph McBaiden. I am second generation British of East and West African heritage. So my mother came to the UK 2 years before I was born. And then I grew up in South London, and I am where I am today now. So I'm a chartered accountant, 5 years qualified, and I work within the wealth management industry, which is within the financial services sector. In my spare time, I'm a drone enthusiast, so that's what takes up my weekends when there's good weather, along with cycling and football and whatever I can kind of get into. And about me, I'm probably tall enough to play basketball, but I opted for football. So yeah, that's me.
Okay. We'll go back to why you've mentioned basketball.
No problem.
There's a bit of regret there.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, so I'll go next. So I'm Sophie McBaiden. I am a second generation Brit as well. I'd have to say I don't normally describe myself as just a Brit. I tend to say I'm of African and Caribbean descent, but hey, we'll take the second generation Brit. Mm-hmm. My mother, her parents are originally from Barbados, and my father's mother is white British, and his father is of Nigerian descent. So I grew up here. This is all I've known, really, although I did used to, growing up, spend many a summer in Barbados when I used to have 6-week holidays. I used to be there for most of my time, which was absolutely awesome, and I've got lovely memories of that. I am a qualified solicitor. I work for a big bank, and I have been qualified for almost 5 years, almost to the day. And really, really enjoy the law, but particularly enjoy working with different people. And I've always been in-house, which means I've been in a legal department of a company rather than a law firm. So that's given me the great opportunities to meet lots of different people from the business, from sales and marketing to people in lots of different areas. And I'm a real people person, so I love that. And outside of that, I thoroughly enjoy fitness, all things fitness. Step aerobics in particular is my thing of choice. And I love cooking, as Ralph, my husband, will attest to. He's the recipient of my cooking hobbies. And yeah, really just love family and church. And yeah, most recently setting up a charity, which I know we'll come to later.
Fantastic. That's amazing, guys. I mean, I don't know how you find the time to do the things you do, but one thing I want to find out from you guys really is, not everyone wakes up in the, one morning and decides that they're going to set up a charity. So what was your reason for setting up Open Palm?
Yeah, it's a great question. Really, we set up Open Palm out of frustration. So after the George Floyd killing, it really shook us to the core. And although we'd never met George, we didn't know his family, it really, really affected us. And for the first time ever, I think, for me personally, it made me truly question whether I was doing enough for my community. And I actually came to the stark realization that I probably wasn't using all of my skills and my connections and my network to the best of my ability. I've done a lot in the past in terms of I've run work experience programs, aimed at ethnic minorities and underrepresented people. I've mentored and worked with charities in the past, but really just felt that I wasn't doing enough, if I was honest with myself. So Open Palm was my commitment to not only the Black community, but to every underrepresented community ethnically, to really just do more and to try and, as we now call it, create an equal starting line. That's the kind of line we've adopted for the charity, to just allow everybody to compete from a fair position. So that for me was how I came to want to start Open Palm.
Yeah, and just to add to what Sophie said, a lot of people have asked us as well, oh, there's loads of other charities that are doing stuff. Why don't you just kind of tag on to everyone else? And we just thought a lot of charities do fantastic work, and we wanted to do something specific around the skills we could offer. And it's such a large issue that we're trying to address, disadvantage, racial inequality and things like that, that there's not always a one size fits all approach. There's not a one solution to it. There's many individual solutions, and I always see it as a community effort, and people in the community can bring their different parts together we often say there's many fingers to the hand, and it takes a whole hand to kind of hold a fist. So we're all part of that same solution. So we always try to collaborate and work with as many people as possible to kind of help us on our journey and reach our beneficiaries.
Absolutely. And just to add to that, I mean, we talked, didn't we, at the start when George Floyd was killed, should we go out and protest? Is that our thing? But the fact that we even had to ask ourselves, should we go out and protest, for us was confirmation that that was not where our skills were. Mm-hmm. And actually for us, having quite corporate professional backgrounds, we felt that actually the best thing that we can do is to impart the skills, the connections, etc., that we've had and built along the way, and also to use education as a way to really lift up those who have been held back. So for us, that was our part. But there are, as Ralph says, so many really, really important elements, from the protesting to raising awareness to campaigning to the education bit that we're doing, etc., the mentoring that other organizations are doing. So there's so many important elements, but for us, it's all about education.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And, well done to you guys for creating something that I believe is going to, impact generations to come. Ralph, you may have touched on it already, but I've been wondering actually, why Open Palm? What is the name all about?
So we were thinking about different names, obviously, for starting up a charity, as you do. And we were just trying to think, right, we want to be open and transparent, and the kind of an open palm represents that quite nicely. It just kind of shows that we're kind of there to give a helping hand, to also be open to collaboration, and just to be very transparent in what we do. And that's really important for us because even in our personal and in our professional lives, that's always something we've kind of strived towards, and Open Palm kind of brings that together quite nicely. Which is why we settled on the name.
And the giving element as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Now, charities, need money, even though they're doing good, most of them for free. So how do you fund your charitable activities?
So everything so far that we've raised has been through either personal donations or through individuals through work. So at the moment, we haven't received any government funding or any grants. So everything that we've done has been through ourselves putting money in as trustees, another trustee also gives, and then we've got a collection of regular givers, one-off donations, and people through their workplace also doing fundraising events, etc. But the beauty of it is at the moment it's pretty much been people that are just really passionate and wanting to get behind it. So we're funded by lots of small donations from different people, which actually we really, really like.
Yeah, and another thing which has helped us along the way is all of our volunteers as well. So even in setting up some of our courses, we've been really lucky enough to get help from our connections and also people outside of our network who we've reached out to and said, right, are there some skills which you want to offer to kind of help our cause? And we've been really fortunate. We've been blessed to have, for example, a videographer from the Middle East help us out. We've had offers of work from across Europe. So the fact that we've obviously been through this pandemic and there's been a kind of a push towards more video conferencing and things like that, it's meant that the world has become a smaller place, and volunteering isn't just kind of limited to within our small community. It's kind of branched out globally almost. So we've been supported by many talented people giving their skills and helping us progress our mission.
And we're so fortunate that no one has charged anything so far. We haven't been in a situation where we've had to pay for anything in terms of services. Obviously, we have ongoing costs for our website and online presence, etc. But in terms of actual services from people, no one associated with Open Palm has charged anything for their time.
Yeah, and we wanted to make sure that we sorted out and made sure funding was there so that obviously our beneficiaries would never have to pay a penny. That's like our number one rule. So yeah, we structure ourselves in a way that we can kind of maintain. We try to be as efficient. I'm an accountant, so of course you've got to be on top of every penny, making sure that every pound that's donated, as much of that goes to the beneficiaries as possible. So yeah, we're really passionate about that.
That's amazing. I know that the charity currently offers 2 programs for children between the ages of 13 to 17. Could you tell us about each program and the impact that the programs have had on the young people who've completed the program so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first course we launched was called WYZ Money, and that is a financial literacy course teaching young people. The premise is, when we came up with it, all the things we wish we knew about money growing up. And this is from really practical things like how to budget, how to save, the importance of thinking about investments, and also what we really wanted to make it is we wanted it to tailor to every situation almost, because the reality is not everyone's going to be a millionaire. Most of us are going to have normal jobs, normal lives. But that's not to say that you can't have good financial groundings with that base. And we always said, like, I remember when I was going to my first job and I saw my payslip for the first time. It's all foreign to me. And I was just thinking, surely this should have been one of the things you learned in school. What all of these things mean. What is gross pay? What are these deductions? Where do they come from? Where do they go to? And just asking ourselves that question, what do we wish we knew, really helped us kind of pull together this course and pull together this package of learning. And what's important at the end of the learning is we say we want them to do something practical, which they can use literally the day after they finish their course in their everyday life. And we also wanted to give the young people an accreditation at the end of it. We said the learning's great and it will do you well, but we also want to have something you can put on your CV afterward. And it's something which young people can talk about in their college applications or even for their first jobs, just to show that they're kind of doing something over and above their existing learning in school. So we really wanted to kind of pull together this quite nice package of educational programs. And of course, one of the most important things as well is the young people seeing people that look like themselves, telling them this information so that they can kind of, they can see it and aspire to it and know that people that look like them can do this and have been doing this. And we're now passing on that information. And on top of that, we also launched employability program a few months ago now. And that, again, is all about the journey which young people will take from school, from finding out what sort of subjects you want to do to kind of push you in a certain direction in terms of career path, all the way to getting your first job and what the interview process is like, and really helping you, guide you along that path and giving you all the skills you need to be successful.
And the one thing that we're really proud about with the WYZ for Work program is that we're working with companies who are willing to offer work experience to the young people that have finished our WYZ for Work employability course. So when young people have finished this course, then what they get to do is they get to apply for work experience opportunities with our partners. And we've got some really awesome companies, including, a football team, which is absolutely fantastic. And young people will be able to apply for that. And hopefully some of them will then be able to put their interview practice that we've taught them on the course really into play. And some of them will be successful and they'll be able to take up work experience opportunities. So in addition to the learning like WYZ Money, they get their accreditation, but with WYZ for Work, they also get the work experience opportunity as well, which is awesome because half of what we're doing is trying to address the inequality and the lack of opportunity that a lot of people are facing, particularly from ethnic minority backgrounds. So that work experience, that's something on their CV that they can talk to, which then again just helps them to be a bit more comparable to their peers when they're going for university applications, college applications, or first jobs.
Yeah, and both courses are roughly 7 to 8 weeks long. Both are completely online and they can be done at the learner's own pace. And they're accessible on all devices. So laptop, even on your phone, you can start it on your phone, finish it on your laptop. So yeah, it's completely cross-platform.
And the feedback we've had from the young people and their parents has just been fantastic. So the young people, a lot of them have said that they didn't know a lot of this information before. We've actually had a lot of young people saying, well, why on earth is this not being taught in school? I wish I was learning this over algebra. I mean, no comment. I think, everything that's taught in school is really important, but it's great to know that young people don't feel that they're wasting their time doing this course. It's not another chore for them. They are actually finding value. We recently enrolled on our WYZ for Work course, a group of year 11s through a school in South London. And the ratings, we have ratings at the end of each session, and the ratings were really, really positive from that group. A lot of 4 stars, some 5 stars out of 5, which is brilliant. And the parents are saying, thank you so much. We're posting this onto our social media a lot of times. Parents are saying, my child was really, really disheartened through the pandemic, was just struggling to engage with online learning at school because, the cameras weren't on or the content was a bit dry on Teams or whatever it was. Thank you so much that you've given something a bit more uplifting for them to look forward to. So it's really great to hear that kind of feedback.
Wow. It's so interesting to, that it's actually impacting the children, not just in terms of money, but also in their wider learning. That's absolutely amazing. And Ralph and Sophie, as you were just talking about everything that's included in the courses, I was just thinking to myself, I wish I had this when I was growing up. Even now as an adult, I feel there's so much I need to learn, even as someone who works in financial services. Do you get a lot of parents asking you, asking to enroll in your courses?
Yes. We get a lot of parents saying, hey, what about me? I'm not 17, but can I come on the course? We actually, on a serious note, we've also had some older students who have said, I'm 18, I'm 19, I've just missed out on this course. The last year and a half or so has been really tough with the pandemic. I've lost out on work experience or a lot of learning at school. Is there any way that I can come on the course? And we have made exceptions for people, particularly given the last year and a half that we've all had. And we've said, okay, you're 18, you're 19, come on the course. So for anyone listening, if you are slightly above the age limit and you're interested, you're most welcome. Please head to the website, www.openpalm.org.uk/WYZ. But for parents, there is some partnerships that we're building with some third-party organisations that particularly support that age group. And we're working on how we can best support parents as well.
That's great. I think there'll be a lot of take up on that. Because I know just from experience with raising my daughter, as she would come back from school having learned new things, I found it quite daunting to support her because her level of knowledge was much higher than mine was, especially things like maths and science subjects. I was never great at science anyway. So you can imagine when someone goes off 8 weeks on this course, they come back with this knowledge, you want to support them, but your knowledge is a bit below theirs. So I think, what you're doing, partnering with third parties, is going to be so helpful to those children as well.
There you go. Maybe the wealth conversation. Maybe we can do a joint workshop for parents as well.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Let's make it happen.
Let's do that. Now, Ralph, you mentioned when you got your first paycheck and you were looking at it and it was so daunting and you were asking yourself all these questions. Yes. Sophie, what do you wish you had learned about money or even, going for interviews when you were younger?
One thing I wish I learned about money was that it's so possible to pay off your student loan early if you just prioritize it. So I was really fortunate that I paid off my student loan in my 20s, but I didn't prioritize it until I got to about 26. And then I really had about 3 years to just accelerate my payments. I never thought about overpaying my student loan. I grew up being told, your student loan is such low interest, don't worry about it, pay off other things, don't worry about your student loan. Whilst it's true that the student loan is not, ridiculously high interest, it's not like one of those payday loans, but it's not an insignificant amount of interest. And actually, when you calculate it over many, many years, it's a fair chunk of money actually that you're paying on top of the student loan. Now, interestingly though, a student loan is more like tax because it depends on how much you earn. So if you never earn the minimum threshold to repay it, you never actually pay it back. But I was in a position where it was coming out of my salary and I figured, why don't I just pay more and just shift this? So I wish I took advantage of overpaying my student loan early. And it would have meant more years of having less disposable income, but I would have just been able to free myself of it earlier on. In terms of what I wish I knew about careers growing up, I wish I knew more about selling yourself, because in interviews, certainly when I was younger, I was going into interviews and often talking about the team. We did this, we did that, we all worked together. And that's fantastic. And employers do need to hear that you have the collaboration and the team building ability and that you are a team player. But a lot of times, people need to see in an interview what you individually contributed. And now that I support a lot of the graduate recruitment, I see that when I'm marking and I physically am unable to give people more points if they're not telling me what they individually did as part of a team exercise or what their contribution was. So I wish I knew earlier to just talk more about the I.
Wow. I wish I had known that as well earlier. I think I'd be so much further along than I am now. Those are such amazing tips and skills that you are imparting to young people. And I'm so excited for the young people who've gone through the programs already. And do you know how many to date have gone through each program or collectively?
So we reached the milestone of over 100 young people on WYZ Money around January of this year. So I think now we're probably at about 150 or so for WYZ Money, but more we've reached through the shorter workshops as well. And then WYZ for Work, we're around about the 100 young people on WYZ for Work, but again, more reach through workshops. But now when we are trying to work with more schools and get this into the part, more curriculums from September onwards. So we will stay tuned for the end of the next academic year, 21 to 22.
Yeah, but congratulations, considering when the charity was set up and we've been through a pandemic and still kind of going through it. That's absolutely amazing. And those 100 children will be spreading the word and teaching others. So there's that compounding effect going on as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've even heard of young people speaking with their family and parents about it whilst they're on the course. So already those conversations are starting. And those are things which, again, we don't really have growing up. I didn't really speak to my parents much about money. I don't really know what the bills were or anything like that. But now they're having those conversations, and that will only help situations moving forward.
Yeah, because there is a big cultural thing, especially in African and Caribbean communities. There's not a culture of talking about money, and if somebody's in financial difficulty, there's not really a culture of sharing that or reaching out for help. So that's actually one key thing that we actually teach in the WYZ Money course, is if you do find yourself in financial difficulty, and we hope if you've applied what we've taught you that you won't, but if you do, then these are the steps that you should take, and things that sound really basic, like do not ignore a bill. If you can't pay it, call and start making arrangements. And there are organizations that can support, but don't just leave the bill sitting there to collect dust, because otherwise, bailiffs will turn up at your house eventually, and nobody wants that. So it's just about getting people in the frame of mind to be financially responsible.
Yeah, it's so true. Everyone knows what you should do when things are going well, but no one really tells you what you should do when things have gone wrong. Mm-hmm. And that's the trap that I fell into. I got myself into debt, and I really didn't know how to get myself out of it for a long time. And Sophie, what you've just said about just pick up the phone, it is literally as simple as that. And most of the time, the people you're owing money to, they want the money back, so they will come up with a plan and try and help you to pay it back. It's really one piece of the financial knowledge that we need to share more. We need to share more, because it's not always the case that things go well. Mm-hmm. And you really need to know how to get yourself out of the problems when they do arise.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing is, I remember coming out of university and being offered credit card after credit card as well. I don't know about you guys, but it's almost like a double-edged sword, because you need it to build credit. Yeah. But at the same time, you don't want to fall into too much debt. So, I mean, even me personally, I'd racked up a bit of credit card debt in my early 20s because it was just there and available. I didn't necessarily need it, but it was there and I didn't really know any better. But yeah, it's just about knowing about these things before they kind of come to you. And again, that's what we emphasize on all our course. We want young people to know about how to handle money before they get money in their hand, so that they're making these good decisions straight away. And they don't need to wait until they're learning through the negative effects which come with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing is, with social media now, and to be honest, even before social media, particularly, again, sort of the African Caribbean community, we are quite big consumers, and the stats do show that we do spend a huge amount of our income on consumer goods, whether that's, expensive drinks, clothes, holidays, etc. And we're not the biggest savers. So that's one thing as well that we need to get better at, is not thinking, right, I've been paid, let me run off to the most expensive brand, let me go to Selfridges and clear out the place, or go to a nightclub and buy the bar, or buy the most expensive bottle. It's thinking about, let's plan this a bit more, and let me save as a priority and do some other things and pay some bills, and then I'll treat myself with anything that's left over. But that mentality of saving first and so on, I think we need to get better at, and also being honest and frank with each other when we are struggling, like, saying to a friend, I can't come out this weekend because the money's not there, or I've decided that I want to prioritize because I'm going to, invest in the house, or I need to redo something in the property, or whatever it might be. But just being more comfortable with saying no, and not always feeling that pressure to do everything all the time.
I couldn't agree more. It is so important just to know, what you can and can't do. And I always say to people, so I deal with adults, so they haven't gone through the WYZ Money course, so they're coming to me with all these issues that you are teaching the young children about. And I'm sure what I'm saying to them is exactly the same what you're saying to the young children. But one thing I also say is, it isn't a bad thing to go out and shop. All you need to make sure is that you can afford it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the thing that we miss all the time. People are going into minus, going into their overdrafts, getting debt so that they can fund these shopping sprees. But actually, if you just do a bit of work and change a bit of your mindset, you can figure out a way to actually be able to afford it. Because I believe most of the time we do have the money. It's just that we're not allocating it accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just about kind of living within your means, isn't it? And just how important it is to kind of assess your situation and not worry about everyone else's. It's all about it's more about you and your personal finances and making the right decisions based on yourself.
And just staying in your financial lane. And we talk about that on the WYZ Money course. Don't sit there and idolize what people are doing on social media. I think that's one of the biggest risks to the next generation now, is this life through the lens of social media. And most of us that are a little bit older know that things aren't always what they appear. But for the younger generation in particular, they do look at social media and they think, oh, well, somebody's gone on 4 holidays a year, or I saw a photo of them sitting in first class. They must have done the whole flight in first class, but things aren't always as they appear. And a lot of celebrities, even they are in rented properties, they don't actually own it, or somebody's taken a photo in a very expensive seat of a plane but did not fly the whole flight in that seat. And so we just need to be questioning things a little bit more and just frankly not comparing ourselves to other people.
Yeah. And the other thing is almost saving. I remember when I was growing up, saving wasn't really seen in the most attractive way. Until, and even Tsitsi, I know we spoke about this some time ago, how if you change saving from saving to paying yourself, that really changes what it is. Because imagine if you have £1,000 every month and you spend 1,000 and there's nothing left, then what have you really earned? But it's almost like, what have you left over for yourself in order to fund yourself, your dreams, and all the things you want to aspire to? And when I started thinking about saving as paying yourself for your hard work and not letting all that money go back out the door, then I started really thinking about, right, if I could save more, then I can do more and of all the things I want to do, like invest and try and hopefully retire early and all these things. Then it kind of compounds in a positive way, and you're kind of thinking, right, more practical about your situation and how that can get you to achieve your goals.
That's actually, Tsitsi actually schooled me when I watched the WYZ Money interview that Tsitsi very kindly did. And Tsitsi said, pay yourself first through saving. My mind was completely blown. I was like, that is a fantastic way of describing saving. And like you say, Ralph, I've never looked at saving the same. I knew it was important before, but the way that Tsitsi described it, I thought that was brilliant. So thank you so much, Tsitsi, for educating hundreds of kids on pay yourself first.
Oh, thank you. It was my pleasure to do that. I didn't realize that it would have such a big impact. But yeah, when I kind of discovered that whole concept of paying yourself first, it was really mind-blowing. And now I just save on autopilot. I don't even miss the money because I know it's for my future self, and it's mine, right? No one's going to come and ask me to give that money to them because I don't owe it to anybody else, and I'm not owing, I don't have debts anymore, etc. I do have a mortgage. So that's one thing that I need to start paying off quickly. But yeah, paying yourself first is a game changer for a lot of people.
Yeah, and just Ralph, to your point earlier about how when we were growing up, saving was not really considered to be a cool thing. I think when something happens in your kind of mid-20s, and even about a lot of things, even relationship decisions, I remember, being in school, everybody wanted to go for the kind of rebellious person and so forth, the person that said, forget school, who cares about learning? I'm just going to, leave a lesson and just be out and about. And that was really cool when we were younger. Then you get older, and actually what's quite important is somebody with their head screwed on that makes good decisions. And suddenly, if you say to a group of friends, let's go out for brunch, and they say, actually, I'm going to use this money to make a mortgage overpayment, they're actually pretty cool. Because if you fast forward, they might be the people that are retiring at 45. and then they're doing brunch every day. So I think now our mentality is changing about saving, but I think that happens with maturity. But if we can get the young ones to see saving as cool earlier, then they can maybe save decades of pain.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I always think to myself, if I add up all the salaries I've received since I started working, like I could have retired like 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even when we talk about like the power of compounding and starting saving for your pensions early, I know pensions isn't really what you want to hear at the age of 18, but I mean, it's just startled me when you look at the figures, and it's something like if you start saving for your pension at the age of 20, you could literally have £1 million pension pot by saving £360 a month, which doesn't sound like a lot, but over many, many years, it just grows and grows. So yeah, I think all these things, if you hear them earlier, just imagine where we'd all be. Would be even further ahead if we knew this when we were younger.
Definitely. And I think one of the things that does impact people from especially the Black community is the knowledge that we have about money is based on knowledge from what I call back home, or the African continent, or wherever you're ethnically from. I mean, when I moved to the UK from Zimbabwe, I didn't believe in pensions, because what I saw back home with pensions was, people lost their pensions, or the value of their pensions, dropped. So they couldn't live on their pensions at all. And they had worked for years and years. And that was the thing that stuck in my mind. So the moment I heard pension, I was like, they don't work, waste of time, and it took me a very long time to start actually considering looking at my pension and contributing to my pension. Now I don't miss a pension payment. I'm always adding money because it's part of my paying myself first. It's part of the things that I do to make sure that I'm saving for the future.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's another thing with pensions. I mean, when I first started working, I can't remember if the law was that employers had to give you a pension. I can't recall, but I know it's definitely the law now. But when I first started working, I was doing the absolute bare minimum. I mean, I'll confess, there were some periods where I wasn't paying anything into my pension. I was doing zero. And then I thought, okay, I'll do a little bit, I'll put 50 quid in, but I wasn't taking it seriously. But now I've realized, oh my goodness, there's actually a massive missed opportunity here, because certainly a lot of big employers will do matched contributions. So, you put in 10%, they'll put in 10%. And before you know it, you're saving 20% of your salary every month, sometimes more, which is not insignificant, especially as you move through your career and you're earning more and more. So again, another thing is pensions. It sounds so far away, but there's a cross, isn't there? There's a period where if you start early, you can really maximize it. But when we wake up to it and realize it's important, we've maybe lost the opportunity to have those great gains.
Yeah, so true. Now, guys, I could go on and on talking to you. But I want to honor your time. So I'm going to ask you a question that I ask all my guests, because, I believe that wealth is so much more than money. It does encompass all areas of our lives. So I would love for you both to tell me what wealth means to you both in the following areas: physical well-being, mental well-being, spiritual well-being, social well-being, and financial well-being.
Oh, okay. I'll go first on that.
Yeah.
I mean, first, my first thoughts is that they're all linked in one way or another. I mean, if we start with physical, for me, wealth means being able to put the right food in my body so that I can perform. And I mean, that means having enough for the food shop. And it means having enough to go out and play football and go to the gym and have all of these access to all this different equipment and sports that I like to enjoy playing, and will also keep me in a good physical condition. And I think doing that wealth translates to giving my body the best chance it has to look after itself. So yeah, and like I said, the benefits then extend to things like the mental well-being side of it. And Wealth is, for me, not having to worry about where the next meal is coming from at a very basic level, all the way up to not having to worry where the next where the money for the next bill is going to come, and rent or mortgage payments, and having the resilience and the buffer to know that if hard times are coming, that I've got something stored away so that I can kind of be in a good position. So I sleep better at night knowing that I've got that buffer and I haven't got to worry, and I can focus on other things and working towards other positive things. From a spiritual side, I'd say it's being able to support the church, being able to put that money to help our community and help spread the fellowship, and also being able to do God's work even through the charity to help others. So, I mean, if you think about what Jesus did, he helped the most disadvantaged, and we can do that because of the position we're in. And the last one I'll finish on is you mentioned social well-being as well. And that's all about healthy relationships, I guess. So having a strong circle that understand that everyone has different financial positions, and knowing that maybe not everyone could go on the Las Vegas 5-star holiday, but sticking within the means of the group, and having your social circle understand that as well. And as we touched about as well, all the social pressures you see around money, wealth is knowing that, yes, that person might be spending on a Rolex, but you've got your money invested in something else. So, you know, you've got your own thing going on and not having to succumb to the outside social pressures. So, yeah, that's my summary of your ask.
Okay. The last one was financial well-being. I don't know if you've got something to say on that, or...
Yes, of course. So yeah, financial well-being, I'd just say primarily being able to support my family. I mean, family is kind of everything, and it's all good and well you having, but if you have no one to share that with, then what's the point? It's all about making sure that your family's supported. And I'm not talking about the clothes and the cosmetic side of it, but more around the essential things that they need, be that things related to health, be that things related to education. And wealth allows you to kind of to share that love in that way if necessary. So yeah, for me, that's key, really, linking to family.
Thank you so much, Ralph. Sophie?
I'm not sure I can add much to that, to be honest. That was like an A-star answer, but I'll tackle maybe one or two, but I'm not going to try and compete with Ralph on all of them. So I think physical well-being for me is around having the right conditions for my body to thrive. So that's very much linked to financial well-being and mental well-being, because if I'm physically wealthy, then I've had enough sleep every night, which means that I'm not that anxious. I'm not working in a job that's working me to the ground. You know, I've been able to create an environment where I can sleep well, that I can afford to eat well. And by that, I mean being able to buy organic food. That's quite important to me. Good quality produce. If I'm buying fish, it's wild, etc. So being able to buy, you know, the premium food. So the physical health is very much tied to the financial. So I need to be in a position where I'm able to get enough money to live well for my body. And also that the role that I'm doing or the lifestyle that I have is not causing me anxiety and stress, which is the mental bit as well. In terms of the spiritual well-being, for me, spiritual wealth is around, as a Christian, for me, being spiritually wealthy is being close to God, using the gifts that I feel that I've been blessed with to the best of my ability to help other people. I don't believe that I've been given the gifts that I have to just sit on them or to just make myself a load of money and run off into the sunset. But I feel that I've been given gifts to help other people, encourage other people, and hopefully that for me gives glory back to God. So for me, it's about using my gifts, supporting the church definitely, and also being able to have enough money that I can meet my basic needs, have a bit left over, and help other people. For me, that's just wealth overall. And I'll say just one last thing on the social wealth. For me, social wealth is having friends that can push you, who can encourage you, who can inspire you, and that you can also be honest with. And it goes back to when we were talking about having honest conversations if you're in financial difficulty or if you're saving for something, being in an environment where you feel that you truly do have friends, not people that you're just there to impress or compete with, but people that will say, do you know what? Well done, Ralph. Well done, Sophie. Well done, Sitsi, for saying you can't come out tonight. I respect that, actually, do you know what? Maybe I shouldn't go out tonight either. Should we just do a Netflix party or whatever it is, and let's just chill and live a simple life? And for me, the pandemic has been a massive teacher of the importance of the absolute basic things: your physical health, your family, and your mental and spiritual well-being. Without those things, we are nothing. We can't even be talking about work or any other things until we have those basic things. So a social circle that respects that and encourages that is important, and that's wealth for me.
Oh, that's amazing, Sophie. I love that. I'm going to make notes of everything you guys have said on those 5. Now, what is the best way for listeners to support Open Palm?
So, firstly, following us on social media. So at Open Palm Charity, we are on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and I'm sure I'm missing one. Twitter as well. Yes. So yeah, following our content will be fantastic. And then you can also keep up to date on what we're doing. And also, if you feel compelled to, also donating to our cause so that we can reach more beneficiaries, and also sharing any skills you might have or any expertise to help volunteer with our charity and help reach as many young people and spread your skills throughout the community.
And if you're listening to this and you've got children or siblings or cousins, nieces, nephews that you want to enroll on the course, you can absolutely do that. It's www.openpalm.org.uk/WYZ. There you'll be able to choose your pick from our financial literacy course, WYZ Money, our employability course, WYZ for Work, or do both. They're both completely free. You can work at your own pace, get an accreditation, and really learn something that will help.
Great. And I'm going to put the links to your social media and the website in the show notes, so it's easy for people to find them. Sophie and Ralph, I want to thank you both for being such amazing human beings and for saying yes to the calling that was placed on both of you. You know that I'm a big advocate for creating generational wealth in all areas of life. And I know that your mission through Open Palm will have a positive and lasting impact on generations to come. So I thank you for all you have done so far. And I really thank you for everything you are going to continue doing for the next generation.
Thank you so much. And thanks once again for having us, and huge congrats to everything the Wealth Conversation is doing. Can't wait to hopefully collaborate. But thank you once again, Sissy. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sissy. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Connect with me at The Wealth Conversation on Facebook and Instagram so we can continue the discussion. Also, if you're ready to define what wealth truly means to you, then go to thewealthconversation.com and download the Wealth Cornerstones guide. Until next week, stay focused on becoming the designer of your financial future.